So hi everyone, welcome to our very first vlogcast from the AMB Fitness Academy. We're really excited to have you listening with us today. Today we're going to talk about the supplement creatine, which many of you may already be taking or have taken in the past. And today we're going to explore some of the real benefits of creatine, which have been concluded from scientific studies and research, and understand why you should use creatine as one of your supplements when training. So, what is creatine? Well, creatine is actually a molecule that is naturally produced in the body. It's primarily made in the kidneys and completed in the liver, and by those three amino acids glycine, arginine, and methionine. So these three amino acids are converted into what's known as creatine phosphate and phosphate creatine, which is then stored in the skeletal muscles and used for energy. So what we know is about 95% of the body's creatine is actually stored in the muscles in the form of phosphate creatine, and the other 5% is found in the brain, in the kidneys and liver. And when you use the creatine as a supplement, so a supplement in your diet to support your training or sports performance, you actually increase your stores of phosphate creatine in the skeletal muscles. So this form of stored energy in the cells is what helps your body produce more of high energy molecule called ATP. So ATP is often called the body's energy currency, and when you essentially have more ATP, your body can perform better during exercise. Now we'll do another show on ATP, but today we're going to focus purely on creatine as a supplement. So what we actually know about creatine as it stands, it's been well studied over the last 25 years. It's probably one of the most well studied sports supplement on the market today. And as I've said, creatine, it's been extensively studied by experts across the world, including sports scientists and medical professionals. But there's actually been over 1,000 studies concluded by scientists on the benefits of creatine. And one of the most effective supplements is creatine for helping us increase our sports performance, helping us develop muscular size and strength and hypertrophy, but also highly effective in recovery as well. So it's been highly effective. It's also shown to be very, very safe. Now this is very important because when we embark on sports nutrition, or when we speak to a sports nutritionist, or when we even consider taking supplementation, we need to ensure that it is safe for us to do so. That's very important because taking supplementation or anything, or increasing certain foods in the diet, you want to ensure that it is safe to do so. Underlying health conditions and any medication that you're taking, you should always check with a medical doctor or at least a sports nutritionist just to sign that off. So what does the science actually say? Well, the International Society of Sports Nutrition recently concluded that there was no compelling evidence to suggest that there are any short or long-term effects of taking creatine. So studies have reported that consuming creatine for up to 2 to 5 years appears to be very, very safe, so there were no adverse effects documented. So the supplement is shown to be very, very safe, even in higher doses as well. So although typically a daily dose is consumed anything from 3 to 5 grams per day, people have even taken doses of up to 30 grams per day for a prolonged period of 5 years, and there's been no reported safety concerns. So there are many sports professionals and typically strength athletes that what we call creatine load. And what this means is they take doses of up to 20 to 25 grams, all the way up to 30 grams of creatine per day for roughly 7 to 13 days in total. And what this phase means is the loading phase. So they load their bodies with creatine and then they drop down to the recommended daily dose for longer term usage. So once their bodies are fully loaded with creatine, they tend to drop down to the recommended daily dose of 3 to 5 grams per day. So whilst undertaking strenuous exercise or specific training regimes, what I would say is that you do not need to exceed the recommended dose of creatine, because your body will simply excrete excess creatine through urination. So in this case, more creatine doesn't mean more muscle mass. There's only a certain amount of ATP production and muscular physiological benefit to the body from creatine consumption. So more doesn't mean more muscle mass. Always stick to the recommended daily dose. So it's important to note that for athletes that typically weigh in, so such as boxers and MMA fighters, and those that need to maintain certain weight classes, it's important to say that creatine does hold water, so it's a water retention supplement. So your muscles will hold on to this water, and it can often result in things like bloating and puffiness around the arms and legs or stomach. And your muscles may even appear bigger, even just from taking the supplement for a few days. And this is obviously very, very common during the loading phase, where you're looking at that 20 to 25 to even up to 30 grams per day. So it's very important to consider, if you're an athlete that focuses on certain weight classes, creatine does increase your weight slightly. So that just needs to be noted. It can be anything from sort of 2 to 5% increase in weight, which doesn't sound a lot, but when you're trying to weigh in for a certain weight class, it's very, very important that you understand that creatine may tip you over the edge to another weight class. So just be very wary that when taking creatine as a supplement, that you do understand how it works in the body. So in terms of creatine being safe, then there has been some anecdotal evidence reported that taking creatine can give you an upset stomach, can make you feel quite nauseated at times and give you things like stomach cramps. But these tend to be very mild symptoms and tend to be more prevalent during the loading phase or if you're very new to creatine. Now, they are mild and do tend to wear off, and that is anecdotal evidence, so that isn't evidence necessarily reported in documented literature, but is also just regarded as feedback from people who take creatine. So that's the difference between anecdotal evidence and scientific backed research and literature. So it's very important that you understand that there are mild symptoms. Most of the time they do tend to wear off, but if they don't, I would just consider how long these symptoms go on for, and if you do need to come off creatine, that's absolutely fine. If it's making you feel a bit sick, if it's affecting your training performance and your sports performance, then feel free to just remove creatine for the time being. It may just be your body getting used to this increased phosphate creatine in the body. But I've been taking creatine now for just over 5 years, and whenever I enter a loading phase, I tend to feel more bloated then, but it does wear off when you consider dropping down to 3 to 5 grams when it comes to maintenance. But what you will be glad to understand is that creatine is probably one of the most cheapest supplements out on the market at the moment. So when you consider, protein intake, and all the other sports nutrition and all the diet that you have to invest in, you'll be glad to know that creatine is actually one of the cheapest out there on the market. I think you could pick up 500 grams of creatine for about £7, possibly cheaper elsewhere. So creatine is really, really regarded as one of those great supplements used within sports performance and training. And just to summarise, it does remain one of the few supplements in documented research that has consistently shown to produce many benefits. So increased strength, increased muscular hypertrophy, or supporting increased muscular hypertrophy, the ability to go longer and faster, and also the ability to recover as well, which we know is very important if you've got a certain athlete especially those that are looking to produce anaerobic thresholds. It's those athletes that need to recover often because they do exerted rate training regimes, and it's those athletes that benefit the most from creatine intake as part of their diet. But I would just like to conclude, just remember, always consult a qualified medical professional or sports nutritionist before taking any supplementation. It's always good just to get the professional sign off. Typical PTs like myself, even though we've studied nutrition, it's always good to go to a medical professional just to make sure that taking supplementation within your training regime is safe to do so. I would always recommend that. But look, thank you all for listening. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel to learn more about health and fitness, and you can follow us on social media. Just search for AMB Fitness Academy, and our social channels will show up. Give us a follow, give us a share, and also leave some comments in the comment section as well. Brilliant, thanks guys, hope to speak soon. Cheers.